So yeah, this is the plan is really to show you all how easy it is to get starting with Neo4j Aura, and how quickly you can you have a set going. So we want to quickly in this session show you what Neo4j Aura free is, what does it mean, where do you get it, where do you need to go, and all of that good stuff. Then we pick a data set. So we're really hoping for you to share with us if you have any open data sets you'd like us to explore. Ideally, you go to Discord and share them with us there, but you can also reach out on Twitter and anywhere else. I have picked this week's data set. It's a board game data set for Board Game Geek, so we can look at that a little bit later. But if you have anything in that regard, any CSV file really would do. We are flexible. It just needs to be openly available on the internet, not some hidden thing somewhere. And then we think about questions we might ask. So obviously we want to explore a little bit. We go a little bit into modeling. We go a little bit into what kind of questions we can get from that data set. And that's basically it. That is the start. And then we always share at the end our results and our how we went in a GitHub repository. So you can always, if you wanna, so last week said exactly here's the NBA data set we did last week. If you wanna redo this, you can just go there and get the data, get the links, see our queries. We will do the same for today's session, so you can always repeat what we do.
Yeah. And you can always rewatch the recordings too. So you see here, for example, here,
exactly.
This would be a link to the recording from last week. So everything's going to be captured. So you can watch us again. You can just read through the notes in GitHub. You've got the options there. So that's fantastic. So quickly, we've also got David from South Africa. So same time. 10 o'clock.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, 10 in the morning. Good morning. Good morning. We've also got Aravind as well, joining us also from India. So also hopefully you're on your lunch break too. So bon appetit.
Yeah. Enjoy lunch break.
So,
yes.
Right. Let's do this. Oh yeah, we're going to load the query. So very quickly, what is Neo4j Aura? It's Neo4j database as a service. So it's up on the cloud. So it's a managed service. So you don't have to download the instance. You don't have to install it. You don't have to configure it. All of that's looked after for you. It's managed graph infrastructure, and basically Aura will keep everything up to date. So keep it up to date with the versions of Neo4j. It will manage backups for you, provide continuous uptime, all of that good stuff, overseas monitoring and so forth. So you've got a link there to go to Aura. And what we're looking at, and this is basically the whole series, is we're doing everything on Neo4j Aura free. So it's a free version of Neo4j Aura. So there are some limitations. So you've got up to 50,000 nodes and 175,000 relationships, but you've still got access to Neo4j Blim and browser, so you can do all of that good stuff. It's free forever. And again, you go to the same address to get you to the Aura page. So what you can do is you can sign up there and you can get a free instance of Neo4j Aura. So the Neo4j Aura free version. So if you are joining along, so again, if you want to keep coming, we're here every Monday, same time. So if you want to code along with us, you're more than welcome to. So you can get yourself set up and then you are good to go. So that's Neo4j Aura. And like Alex said, this is all about getting you up and running. What you will find is we will always pick a data set that you can easily pull in with load CSV or some of the APOC functions. So the idea is you do not need to download anything. And the only thing you need to sign in is Aura free. So everything else, we're going to do it so that you can just access it and pull. So it should be nice and easy for you to be able to play along and get a feel for what's going on with Neo4j. So
exactly. And if you have any questions, I mean, obviously we are here. So if you want to know anything, type it in chat. We will probably have some time and answer your questions.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Any questions, ask away. We are both keeping an eye on the chat, so chuck them in. We'll pick them up as we go along. And actually, we do have a bit of user participation. So Alex talked about we're looking at a board game data set. So if you've got any questions you'd want to ask of the data, what query questions, then let us know. So Fountain Hitch just asked, are we analysing chess this week? No, But as you probably know, Fountainhook, I love chess. I play a lot of chess. So I've played in various competitions things. So watch this space. We're definitely going to do a chess related one at some point. So just need to dig about and find a good data set. Definitely going to do it. Oh, Chess World Cup. Let's see. Let's have a look at what we can do with the Chess World Cup and have a bit of thinking. But that is a good shout.
That's a good suggestion. Yes, thank you, Fountainhook. I think that's it's an interesting set, for sure. So yeah, this week it's about board games. Chess is a board game, so technically we probably will touch slightly. We're going to touch slightly chess as well, but in this case, it's a pull from somebody at GitHub that did it. It's a few years old, so it's not the most recent pull, but the page he scraped or they scraped was boardgamegeek.com, which is the biggest board game site and board game community on the internet, and it has every board game. Yeah.
Anyway, this is the website. It comes from somewhere. There's a list telling you of all the popular games.
Exactly, and then if you quickly click on that CSV file again,
yep,
we can quickly see. So yeah, it has an ID. So every game has an ID. It has a name, obviously. So for example, here the first line, Twilight Struggle is the video game. It has a release year published is the release year 2005. Then it has a minimum players and maximum players. So this game can only be played by 2 people. Playing time, so that's 180 minutes, which is also the suggested time. Then the minimum age, so from 13 on, you can play this game. Users rated means the rating. So every user that has this game or even knows this game can give it a rating from 0 to 10. And this game got a 8.33774, so a pretty good one. And that's sort of like the average rating here. Then there are owners, traders, wanters. So that means people who own this game, people who would like to sell or get rid of this game, and people who want this game as a wish list kind of setting. I think we can ignore the comments, and then again, another data point that's interesting for us today will be the weights. So weights means the difficulty of this game, the complexity, sort of as also a weight from, I think this is from 0 to 5, or is it also from 0 to 10? I'm not sure. I think it's from 0 to 5.
You know what? We can write a cipher query to figure that out shortly. Yeah. So hold that thought, and we when we load in the data, we can actually do something to have a look what that is. So
exactly, yeah, that's
hold a good that thought. Put that question in.
Yeah, and the average weight is obviously the average of that number.
Brilliant. So what we're going to do is let's dive straight in and let's have a quick look at the data. So obviously here it's a little bit hard to see as a CSV. So what we can do is let's just do the load CSV, pull it in and look at a couple of rows. So there I am. You can see I've already got my instance of Neo4j Aura 3 set up. So this is the same one from last week. So those of you, you can create it. It takes a few minutes. So I've just emptied it and I'm just reusing the same one from last week. I'm going to open this with browser. So I'm going to need to put in some creds as well. So do not forget when you create your instance, put a copy of the password in a safe place, because if you lose your password, you'll have to destroy a database and start again. So don't lose it. Delete it all and have to,
yeah, exactly. That's not good.
All right, let's just quickly load in a file. So this is, like, for those of you who are not familiar, so this is just basically the load CSV. So this is going to go off and load the CSV from an address. So we can load it from a URI. So here we're using the link here to the raw CSV output from GitHub. So this is what we love. So this, we can just pull it from any public place and have a work with that. So I'm just doing that as row. And let's just have a look at the first 5 rows. So do return row limit 5. So that's going to go away, download that CSV, and then return back the first 5 rows. So here we go. Perfect. So what Alex was going through earlier.
Here it is much better to read. Yeah,
a lot easier to read now, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, here you see it again. What I just mentioned. You know, you see the weights, the traders, the comments. This is like basically the wanters, the wishes. This is actually people, individual accounts on Board Game Geek. And then there is an average rating, for example, 8.33. There in the middle, there is the player's name, player's count, basically. So this is a 2-players game, but obviously games will have more than 2 people. So then would say from 2 to 8, maybe something. Playing time 2 below is also is in minutes. So 180 minutes is kind of like the suggested time. It could be longer, it could be shorter, obviously. The name obviously is important. What kind of game is it? And then the average rating is also interesting. So
yes.
What did people think of this game?
Yeah, absolutely. So a quick question from Bok here asks, is there now support for multiple DBs in one Aura instance? Not at the moment, no. So if you want multiple DBs in a single instance, you need to use Enterprise Edition of Neo4j at the moment for that.
Yep.
But of course, what you can do is with Aura is you can spin up more than one database Aura instance. So you can, if you need more than one database, you can spin up more than one. But obviously, that would be the Aura Professional. And so those are the ones that you'd be pulling up. So you can have more than one Aura Professional, but obviously that's not free. You can have one single free account of Aura free. Okay. Exactly. So what was the one that we were talking about? You said, where was the complexity? What was the complexity one?
That's weight. Average weight. So right in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So let's go and have a quick look at what games have the highest average weight. And then we can figure out if is it 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. So this is using using an anvil to crack a nut, but hey, why not? You know, we're all learning. All right, so let's do that. So let's do with row dot. What did we say it was called? It was row dot name. Yeah, row dot name as name and row dot average weight as weight. Well, let's pick back the rating as well. Maybe we want to know about what games are fun. So we're just going to pull a couple of, a couple of bits just to see what's going on. So average rating as rating, and then we're going to do order by weight descending, and so what I should do. Yep. So what I've done here is return row.name, row. Oh, no, I don't do that. I want to do return name, weight, rating. There we go. That's what we want.
You just type the weight M. It's needed.
Yeah, don't buy cheap Bluetooth keyboard. If I can offer one bit of advice, if you don't have to, don't buy the cheapest Bluetooth keyboard. Make a copy of that. So this is quite a big file, so it has to download it and put stuff into memory. So we may need to rewrite this query ever so slightly just because of the fact that there is memory limitations on Aura Free. So I may have asked a bit too much of it.
Maybe.
Just seeing. So let me see if I can rewrite this query in a bit more efficient way.
But that's a good thing to show that you can always click that red square and you can, it stopped it by itself. Yeah. But if you run into this scenario, you can always stop queries.
Yeah. So let me think about how we can do this. So let's do. I'm going to just do. Let's just do max rating, just because obviously that might be the easiest way with max.
I mean, technically we can limit this because we want to know what's the max number, so we can say we want to
do this. If I do, and then just return the rating. Let's see what the max rating was. Not rating. We wanted weight, didn't we? Yeah, just fix it.
We wanted weight, yes, but yeah.
There we go. It should be fine because it only has to pull one field out of the thing. So max rating is 5. So yeah, it's 1 to 5. So it is. There we go. We've answered that question.
Good.
Right. So the next bit is what questions do we want to ask? So everybody, what kind of questions would you want to ask of this data? So let's just bring back the previous query where we pull back the first 5 rows. What kind of questions do we want to ask of this data? What would you ask, Alex? What would be of interest
I mean,
for you?
while everybody thinks, I can think of a couple ones. So I think we could like we did with the weights, we could check what the top rated games are, what they are called. We could check what because you know how many people own a game, so we can always check how many or what are the games that most people have in their collection. So we can have
I like that.
The favorites, sort of.
Yeah.
And I think we could technically do an easy recommendation. So because we know the player the player number, so we can say, okay, I'm looking for a game for 3 players with complexity or weight of, I don't know, 4, because I'm a board game connoisseur, and show me then the games that have the best ratings for that combination.
Okay, I like that. We've got a question in from Fountain, which is, which games can I play with one friend that will require at least 30 minutes of interaction?
That's a very good question also.
Yes, I like that.
We also have the playing time. Yeah.
What games can I play with X friends which require min Y minutes? I like that. So I've just parameterized your question, Fountain Hook. I hope you don't mind, because obviously we might want to change those variables. But we will start off with 2 players and minimum of 30 minutes. So, okay. And I mean, there's so many questions I want to ask from this. I think there's really.
Do you have one question? Yeah. Do you have something?
So what would I want to ask? So I would. So what I find really interesting is the wanters and wishers. So you said wanters are people who want to get this game, and what was wishers?
So yeah, I think that's a very similar thing. I think wishers are people that have it on their wish list. So sort of like a collection of games they potentially want to buy, and I think wanters is a little bit more concrete. They are sort of looking for a buy. So that's correlating, I guess, with the trader. So more or less who is selling and who is buying. But the wishers would be the ones that put them on their wish list and say, okay, this is a game I'd like to buy next. Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure how we do this. So this might be another one where we do a Board Game Geek Part 2 and Part 3, and who knows. But the thing there's a couple of things that jump at me that's interesting. So I'm gonna leave these for next. I think we've got loads of really interesting questions to pull out at this episode. But a couple of things that jump out at me would be, I want to know the ratio between these two, because I think that's quite interesting. So does that ratio correlate, and what does that mean? How does that correlate with all the other information that we've got here? And the other thing that I find quite interesting is, where was it? It caught my eye. Yes, is I would love to know the relationship between total owners and rating. So I would like to know, is there some kind of correlation where, if there's lots of total owners, how does that, relate to the average weight? So does it mean, can we infer things like if there's lots of total owners, it's going to have a good rating and that kind of thing? So I think that's interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing we don't have in this data set, so I did have a look to see, and there are some very interesting APIs out there. So I need to figure out how to get them working. But there is a public API that someone put together that allows you to take the ID, so that you see here there's an ID. So this is the unique ID for the game on Board Game Geek, and there's like a very funny API that pulls back some not particularly well-formed XML. But so I'm just looking into this. But if I can get it working, so this may be another visit episode, but what we can then do is pull back the game genre, what type it is, all those other bits, and then I think we can start to pull a really interesting picture. But that's for another episode. But I think for now, let's keep it where it is. So let's take this question. So what questions we've got? We have got, what are the top rated games and what they called. We've got what games that are the most popular. We've got finding a game for X number of players with complexity of Y. And then we've got the question, what games can I play with X friends that require a minimum of Y minutes? So we've got those questions. So let's have a think about the data model.
Yeah.
So back with Arrows, we're using Arrows app because this is a really nice way to do it. So what do you think? What do you think we're going to start with? What's the center of our universe?
Center of our universe is probably a game.
I think that's a fair shout. So let's put in. So we're going to do a label, which is going to be game. And let's put in the ID, because maybe we're going to come back to this and that ID might be useful.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a name.
It's got a name, yep. I guess we're going to do min players.
Oh, that's a good question, actually. Because
if you want to answer a question from Fountainhook, I guess we need that.
Well, so this is the question. Hi, Pradnya. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
Someone else is on their lunch break. Thank you for spending your lunch break with us.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the interesting thing here. Let me tell you where my head's thinking about this. We can always refactor it. So the thing is that if we look at the min players, max players. So I think this is going to be this is always going to be a discrete number, isn't it? So it's probably, like maybe there's going to be some crazy game where you've got 100 people, but I think it's always going to be, maybe make a rough assumption, it's going to be, say, between 1 and, say, 8 players or 1 and 10 players or something like that.
Yeah, that's.
And if we're going to start asking questions, then there's a part of me thinking, well, actually, would it make sense? So we could have it as a property on here, but another part of me is wondering, well, do we do this? So bear with me. I'll talk through my rationale here. So maybe we've got one here called min players. Maybe we've got another one called max players. Maybe get rid of this. But the idea here is, if we're going to be asking lots of questions about what games need a minimum number of players or a maximum number of players or something like that, then what we can start to do is we can start to have loads of games coming off min players and loads of games coming off max players. So this is going to be a relatively small graph, so it doesn't matter so much. But if we wanted to start doing some interesting queries about the relationship between min and max players in a game, and maybe we had rating and that kind of thing, then it might be quite an interesting thing to pull apart and graph. So just chucking that one out there for a consideration.
I think that's a good idea, because actually you're right, these min max players, we could even do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's basically 10 nodes sort of, and then we always have looking at that and starting, okay, I have min players 2, so I started this 2, and then this is where I explore the graph. Makes it much easier to land somewhere than to having to index and scroll to every game board node, basically, when I want to find which is a game for 2 players. Yeah,
and we're trying to make it a bit graphy as well. Another thing worth considering that maybe we might do is, let me get rid of this. And I haven't figured out which ones, but it's not too important. So we can always just pick one and just run with it. Is we can do this to no players, as in number, as opposed to no players for this game. We could do like no players. And then what we could do is maybe we do it on here, which is min players. And then we would have another one, which is max players. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I prefer this one.
Yeah.
Because the interesting thing about this is, if I don't care about the range of min or max players, then I could just do a query to go through. Another way I could do this, and there's many ways, and I'm not sure what's the best way to do it. This is something I think we'd have to have a little think about, because there's so many ways of doing this. Another thing we could do is we could imply the number of players. Because what we could do, we could do something like this, which would be can have number of players. And then like this, we don't have a min or a max, and we'd figure out the min or max by going down the can have relationship to number of players. And then we do the min value of those nodes would be the minimum number of players, and the max value would be the maximum number of players you could have for that game.
Yeah. And I know, I mean, if you go further into the data set, is not in this one, but I know that Board Game Geek also collects a recommended number of players. So every owner gives a suggestion of, let's say this game is for 2 to 4 people, but the ideal number is 3. So you have the most fun if you play it with 3, because with 4 maybe it's too long, with 2 it's not well thought out, but 3 is perfect. So yeah.
So there's lots of options around it. It's a tough one. It's tough in many ways. Yeah. And I think we may have to work through it to figure out which is the right one. So which one shall we go for, Alex? I'll let you pick, and then we can, if we need to refactor, we refactor. Yeah,
I think the first one was your first suggestion was I think I liked most.
Min and max.
Yeah, with 2 or with 2 separate nodes, or with various separate nodes.
Oh, you mean like a min player node and a max player node?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, let's do that. So let's do. How did we do this? We had a.
What we could do now that I think of it is we could call it player amount, and then we call them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we create like 10 nodes, something, and then the game always points to, depending on the min and max numbers, to a separate node.
Sorry, so let's say,
yeah. So let's say we create 10 nodes that say player count and says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then a game has a relationship min player goes to the 2 player count 2, and max goes to player count 4, and then if we create that,
Yeah. So let's do that. So let's do this, and then just do value for this. This would be the number of players, and then we have 2 relationships, don't we? So we have min player and max player.
Yeah.
So we've got a question that's come in. So great question by KSR6, which is, can you have a property on the game rather than its own node? It's more of a configuration thing, not a real entity. So the interesting thing about this, and that is a really interesting question, and yes, we could. And I'm painfully aware that we could have put all of this information to answer our questions, could all have been properties on a node. Couple of things around that. One, it's not very graphy, so we'd end up with no relationships. The interesting thing around this is I always ask the question of, is it a discrete value that we're putting in, or is it like a range value? So you think about rating, and the rating that we see at the moment is a range value. We may decide to do some kind of bucketing around that, but at the moment, rating is a range value, so we need to figure out where we're going to put that. The interesting thing about player count, especially if we look at the data, is yes, maybe there's some random board game where you can have 100 people playing it, but the vast majority are probably going to have a cutoff of about 8, so it'd be probably 1 to 8. And the interesting thing is if we pull it out, so how do we turn this into a graphy thing? And the interesting thing about having the player count as a node, and again, there's lots of different ways around this, but the interesting thing about having it as a player count is if we want to ask questions like, give me all the board games that require a minimum of 1 person, because it's raining outside and I just want to spend some time playing a game, then you would go to the player count node, and then you would go off and find all of the board games that have a player count of 1. And that's quite an efficient query to write, because you're not having to do a property lookup on every single game node to tell you all of the things, has a player count of 1. What we're doing is we're saying, no, we go to this node here and we just chase the relationship. So this is where you make it efficient. So I know the question here has been asked, and this is basically what it comes down to, which is the best practice question, which is, when is something a node? When is something a property? When is something a relationship? And all of this will be driven by what questions are you asking. Now we've got one question here, 2 questions actually we've got, which are asking about number of players. You've got one question that Alex suggested, which was game for X number of players. And then we had a question from Fountain Hook, which was games that I can play with X players. So these are all focused on the number of players. So in my head, as an initial model, it makes sense to pull this out as a node because that's where a lot of questions are appearing. So hopefully that kind of makes sense as to what's going on. So let's do this. So we've got a few more bits to add, and we're going to start pulling some data in and asking questions. So we've got min players. And a nice thing about this one is you only ever have two relationships about players coming off of game, and we can always by query then figure out what the difference is rather than pulling back, this crazy idea where we've got 100 players and you end up having like 100 relationships coming off the game. So this is quite nice, I think. Okay, so we had questions about player count. Another question we've got are which games are the most popular. So that is using the average rating. So where should we pop average rating, do you think?
Good question. It could be a separate node again. It could be a property of game. Because it's an average, it probably makes sense to. I mean, I think I would put, my gut feeling tells me put it as a property into game.
Yeah, I think that's quite a reasonable thing to do. So I would probably for now put rating onto game. So let's do that. So let's do property. So it's going to be rating. And then we've got, what other question? We've got names, give the names. We've got complexity. Okay. So you said that complexity would be a value. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because now I'm starting to, we'll have a think about how we're going to do this. We'll come back to complexity in a second.
We have, I guess we need to add a people node or a community node or something because we want to have the owners. Or how do we want to do this?
So how do you mean by owners?
So we have the we have the users or the community of Board Game, and they have these wanters, traders, wishers, and
we're not going to add that for now. I think we'll just stick to the data points that we've got for the questions to answer today. I think would make sense. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
We've got two things we need to put in to finish that off. So one is the complexity, so the weighting we need to put in, and the other thing we need to put in is the minutes, the time. So that was a question that Fountain Hooked asked. So if we have a quick look, we have like a min player time and a max player time. So let's do a bit of a cop out here. We said minimum time, so we just put minimum time in for now, and then we'll worry about the other one later. But maximum time would be a good one for the future if you want to have a quick game. But where do we put that in? So I would be tempted to do a similar thing for the min time too.
Yeah, totally.
So the only thing there is maybe we do time buckets. So if we have a quick peek, I'm just going to quickly I'm going to do a cheat query. So bear with me. So let me do return distinct row dot min. Do we just call it min time? What did we call min play time?
Min play time. Yeah. There's even a playing time, which is, I guess, the average. I don't know. But yeah.
Okay, so what we've got min play time of 0. That's a helpful value.
That's a quick one.
Okay, I think we've got some noddy information. Oh gosh. Oh, look at that. We've got some crazy values in here, haven't we?
Yeah, it sounds like. I mean,
we've got 100. Okay, it's not too bad. We've got 124 different values, and I think I think some of these might be interesting. Yeah. So let me do this. I'm going to do return distinct to integer time, and then we just put them in order. Sorry, I'm pressing random buttons and breaking things. Do bear with me. Just a quick peek. So we have got... All right, so we've got 0 to 10, 12, 15. Oh my goodness, we've got some quite granular numbers here, and then it pops up. So
maybe do we want to try playing time? There's another.
Oh, is there a playing time in there?
There's a playing time as well. Yeah, maybe that is.
A bit like that.
Yep.
Right, so
I don't know if that changes much.
135.
Does not. No. Okay.
I want to know what game is that many weeks.
That's a big, big Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Oh yeah. So that's quite good. So you know what? I'm going to cheat because we've got lots of nodes in here anyway. So I'm going to do a bit of a cheat, and I'm going to say that we've got a minimum criteria of 10 minutes. So the game's got to be at least 10 minutes playable, and I'm going to do a max criteria of 5 hours. So I think I'm being extraordinarily generous. So let's say we're going to do between 10 minutes and 300 minutes, and then everything else, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not entirely convinced. And that might be a convenient way for us to basically get our 50,000 nodes for the games.
True.
We've got a couple of questions that come in. Logarithmic buckets, yeah, that's an option. To be honest with you, 135 nodes is tiny. And bearing in mind that we're going to have, if we were doing the min-max time, it'd basically be 2 relationships. 135 is a tiny number of nodes, so I wouldn't worry so much about the buckets. And again, this is like a really interesting conversation about how we do this. So there's going to be more than one way to model this. So I'm cognizant of the fact that we are running out of time. So let's just quickly do this so we can get some data in and get some querying going. So I think for the interests of time, so this isn't the perfect model, that we could probably spend a lot of time working with this. So I'm going to do the horrible thing. I'm going to stick the time onto the node for now as a property, and then we can play around afterwards. So just for the interest of, so we can get some data in and start querying, and then it might be good fun to have a play with refactoring it and changing that. So let's do, was it average time was the name? No, playing time.
Playing time, yep.
Playing time. So let's put it in there for now. It's not great, but for the purposes of, let's just get this going. So we've got ID, name, rating, and playing time on the game, and then we've got min and max player onto player count. So I think we've got weight. So the one we're missing is weight. So I'm going to do a massive cop out here as well. I'm going to put weight as a property on there as well. So we've still got a graph element on there, and then like that to go. Okay, so this is our data model. It's not perfect, but let's just get going so we can get some data in. So right, let's load in some data. So I'm going to jump and reuse this. So let's do... we're going to limit it to the first 50,000. So I'm going to assume that... I'm going to do create. I'm going to, in great hope and faith, I'm going to hope that each line of data is unique in that CSV. So let's do create game node. And add some properties at name. It's going to be row.name. We've got weight is row. Was it average weight, wasn't it?
It's average underscore weight, yeah.
We had rating, which is row dot average underscore rating.
Exactly.
And what else did we put in here? We put playing time, didn't we? So
playing time, yep.
Time is row dot
playing.
Is it like that?
No, with a small
underscore.
No, just one word, but no
playing time. Okay,
yeah, like this. Yes.
Perfect. Playing time. All right. So we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, and we said we're going to do ID. Forgot to put ID on there. Is it just called ID, or is it?
It is just called ID. Yep.
All right. So let's do ID is row.id. Okay. Cool. So we're going to create our game node, and then what we're going to do is we're going to merge our number of players. So we're going to do. Was there an average? What was the? Is there like a min max? There isn't an average playing players, is there?
There's the min and max players.
Okay, so let's do merge. We said no players, didn't we? Call it
player count.
So P player count, and that's going to be value is going to be row dot, was it min players?
Min players, yeah.
And then we're going to do another one. Same, it's the same node, so we're just doing that in case they've got different values.
It's no underscore again. It's just one word.
Oh, is it min players underscore?
No, just no underscore.
It's like that?
Like this, yes.
Perfect, thank you. Value is going to be row dot max players. And then we're going to create with all of this, so with G P min, P max, P min, P max. We're going to do create G as min players. That's going to be P min, and create G as max players, P max. And we just need to put a limiter in here because obviously we've got a limit of number of rows. So I'm going to do with row limits.
Do we want to limit by playing time? Or
well, let's get some data in, and then we can play with the playing. Actually, no. Let's limit playing time. So row limit. How do I do this? Where to integer row dot playing time is greater than 9, and to integer is less than 501. So we are 301. Can't multiply. Okay, so we're saying game that's over 9 minutes long and less than 5 hours and a minute playing time. And hopefully that should be less than 50,000 nodes. If not, we'll soon find out. So let me just quickly do some integers. So this, we're just going to cast this because these are all going to be treated as strings. So I just want to turn them to integers. To integer that. And same deal here. To integer that one. And what else? Do we have any other sneaky? Oh, this one we want to convert to a float. Let's do this one here to float, because these are all going to be strings because we're pulling them from CSV. So we need to let it know that actually we want these as floats. So it's going to be to float, the average rating. And this is going to be to integer. All right, have we missed any? Have we missed any? I think we're all good here. Yeah, we're all good. Right, hopefully. Sorry, I'm having fun with the scrolly. Right, let's see what happens. What did I miss? What did I miss? Line 3, what did I do? We did game. Oh, I ended up on a separate line. I don't know what happened there. Oh, I know what I did. I put the integer around the wrong thing. Whoopsie daisy. To integer. And row ID, that can stay as a string. I don't mind. I'm not too worried about that. Right, okay.
Fine, yeah.
Did I miss any other bugs? Oh, no, we're good. We're going. So hopefully that's less than 50,000 nodes. Otherwise, we'll have to trim it down some more.
Yep.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. We were whole. All right, okay. I'm going to be brutal. It's now 3 hours.
181, yeah.
All right, let's see. Will this go?
No, still no.
No. Right, you know what? 90 minutes. I'm a cruel. You get the idea. I'm a cruel taskmaster.
Oh,
No,
still, wow.
this is all right. It's an hour. At least we
That's
find
probably,
out pretty quickly whether or not we're hitting the limit. You know,
yeah.
that's all we can ask for.
Yeah,
Are we
this
in?
works.
We in?
We're in, yeah.
Oh, look at that on the node. So let's have a look at how many nodes we've got of each thing. So do match and return labels and count star. So this is going to tell us how many nodes we've got in each one. So we have got 46,000 game nodes and 73 different values for player count. So that's surprising. Well, I'm intrigued now. Did we find one? Hang on. Where's the it's not showing it here. That's fine. Let's do match player count return star. Value 2, 5, 1, 3, 0, 16, 40. Flipping heck. Okay, that's interesting. We might end up having another episode where we're just having a look at these games with many people. Maybe those that take forever. But anyway, okay, I digress. Let's do the first question. So our first thing we wanted to do, the top rated games and what are they called? So let's do that. So let's do match G, and this is a bit of a cop out because we did put rating onto this. There's lots of different ways we can do this. So match G game, and I'm going to do return G.name, G.rating, order by G.rating, limits 10. Let's do the top 10. There we go. Ooh, what
Descending,
happened here?
you need
Yes.
to. Yeah.
There's a lot of games.
These
But
are
you know what?
are,
We shouldn't have bothered rating any of the games that got a rating of 0 because nobody cares. Oh, look at that! Loads of games. Loads of games
10.
rate full marks of 10. So I suspect. So the other thing we probably, if we were coming back to this to filter it, is maybe we should do a minimum number of people who own this game as well. What we probably find here is if we had a look, you've probably got lots of people who have got. Maybe like 5 people own this game. So basically the person who created it and all of their friends, and they've all given it 10. Fantastic.
Exactly, that's what it sounds like, because these games are, I mean, I'm not saying I know all the games, but I never heard of any of them.
I've not heard any of these either. So I suspect there may be a little bit of bias going on here. But anyway, you get the idea. So bonjour la France. So there you go. If I'm not learning French, that one.
No.
Excellent. All right, so we've done that one. So next question is what game? So we did the top rated games. What games are the most popular? Oh, we didn't. Oh, we needed to add the number of owners. Sorry, you mentioned that and I completely forgot. So we'll
do this next time. Yeah.
We'll do it next time. So next question we've got is games for X players with complexity of Y. Right, let's do that. So again, we're still staying on the. Oh no, we're going to be using the thing as well. So let's give ourselves some value. So let's do with, what do you want as a complexity rating? 4?
Yeah.
And let's do, how many people do you want to play with?
3.
3? Just 3 players? Min player, max player?
3. Yeah, well, I mean, we could do 3 to 5.
Okay, 3 is min, 5 as max. And let's write our query. So let's do match. So let's do match. Brain start working. So G game. Oh, you know what? We can write a really questionable query here. So because we've got this. We've got min and max player, so we can do a little bit of a cheat here. So I'm just trying to think, can we do it like this? So PC player count. Can we do something like this, where G dot weight is equal to or greater than complexity? And Can I do PC in? Yeah, I think I can do this. It might not work. I'm living life on the edge here. PC dot value in. Can I do this? Can I do this? Will this work?
We'll find out.
Let's find out. Let's see what happens if I do this. Right, what did I miss? Right. What does it not like? GC.weight is, I don't know, why is this arrow here? Is greater than or equal to. Ah, okay, that's what happened. Right. Oh, it's just gonna work. It's just gonna work.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it does. Okay, cool. So let's talk about what's going on here, and let's put in the complexity.
Oh, that's a good point from Benno. It will not include 4 players.
It will, and I'll explain why in a second.
Okay.
Oh no, you're right. No, you're right, Benno, and I'll come back to that in a second. Good point. So let's do as name G dot weight as complexity as player range. And actually, good point made by Benno Fire, which is we probably want to do. I'm going to have to remind myself how to do this. So it's going to do range. Is it this? Range, min, max. I may have to Google the. Hey, here we go. Boom, well done.
Yes.
So here we go. And let's order by complexity. Let's do that. There we go. Right, here we go. Good spot, Bennu. So here we go. So that's that question. So we have got min-max players we want to play. And then we've got the thing. So here we've got complexity. So we've ordered it from lowest complexity to highest complexity. So there you go. Lord of the Rings, the card game Nightmare deck over hill and under hill. If you want a hard game, play that one. And what we've done here, and I'll tell you about my little cheat that I've done, is that I have effectively said min and max. And because, remember, we've got the two relationships, min and max players, relationships going into player count, I can now ignore the min, having to specify min or max. And I'm doing this in array. So what I'm saying is, if the, so this is giving me the array of player, number of players. And then I'm just basically saying, as long as the PC value is in there, so the min value is going to be in there, the max value is going to be in there, then that's going to filter out our players. So that's like a nice little cheat thing. I feel quite smug with that. So Fountain Hooks just asked, can you add rated by at least 1,000 players?
We could, but we
need to add that data in.
Exactly. We didn't do that data. I think if we come back to this data set or something similar, we will for sure have that, because like we discovered earlier, I think the Santa Claus game clearly is not going to be the best game ever, but because 5 people think it is, it's on the top of the list.
Exactly. Yeah. So good point. That's a very important data point we didn't put in here, but we should do it next time.
Yeah.
So let's come to Fountain Hook's question, which was, what games can I play with X friends which require minimum number of minutes? So we can actually just take this query and do a bit of tweaking to it. So let's do G dot, what did we say this was called? This was playing time, wasn't it?
Playing time, yeah.
Right, playing time is rounding to, and here we're going to change this to 30 minutes. So I'm just going to cheat and just replace everything. And we've got number of players. So I don't know if you had a min or max number of players you wanted Fountain Hook, but you get the idea. So we can do order by playing time. Let's stick with, I think, you wanted 2 players, didn't you? So I'm going to go with 2.
You can do
and let's do, I'm going to do this 2 and 2. I can just keep reusing this. So we're going to probably ruin this slightly, but for the purposes of just reusing what we've already got here.
I think we might have to write the T in playing time with a small T.
Oh, what did I do wrong here?
It's playing time is not with a capital T. If that I think that matters.
Yeah, it does. The properties are case sensitive. So what did I not do? Did I put it in as
the playing time is with not with the capital T.
Is that how I put it in the graph? I thought I put it in as a. Hang on, let me check.
I think you didn't.
How did I do this? Playing time.
Oh, you did. Okay, sorry. Well done.
So what did I not do right here? What is it not happy about? What am I missing? It's not. Oh, it's this. It's no, it's this here. I need to do this. That's why it's complaining. Oh.
Yeah.
There we go. 7 Wonders. That should be 7 Wonders Duel, surely, which I've been playing a lot of. I've been playing so much 7 Wonders Duel. I usually knock it out. Oh, and Splendor. I like that. There you
Dominion.
go.
They're good games.
Oh yeah. So there we go. So you've answered that question there.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued that this one's got. Oh look, we've probably got more than one Dominion, so we've got some data in here. So, we've got a question here about bad news. PC value doesn't always work. Think about min 1 player and max 100. This game would not be captured by. This game would not be captured by range 3 or 5, but should work. Oh, let's have a look.
Interesting point.
Good point. So that's a great point, Bennu. Let's have a think. Obviously I need to rethink what this would look like. So maybe I need to not be lazy. Because what we could have done. Actually, no, that's a really good point. So I think we've come to time. So I'm going to copy paste that and have a think about how we do that. So I was being lazy, and obviously laziness was not in my favour here. So let me have a think about how we do that. And then when we write up the GitHub repository, so this is where all of this stuff lives. So over the next couple of days, I will do a write-up onto the repo, so you can come along and follow up week 2. So let me have a little think about that, and I'll do any query corrections I need to do. I will do in there. Oh man, that's not the wind out of my sails. I've not got that one working, but that's all good. We'll get it sorted. So cool. So that's that. So we're trying to keep these to an hour, so we are at time. So yeah, over to you, Alex. Any closing notes?
I think that was fun. I think that's an interesting data set. I think it's more to explore. So like you said, maybe we come back to this set or to a similar one and dig in some more and do, like we discovered with the average players or average raters. I guess it makes a difference when you think of it. Then these outliers are just not in there anymore, or not as prominent. So it makes sense. But clearly, I think it showed again in 50-60 minutes. You are, if you have a CSV file, you are from 0 to data and first queries, and that's possible, and it can be done easily. So I think we showed again that this can be done, and no matter the data set really. So I think it was great. I'm looking forward to seeing you all next time. I'm hoping you send in your data sets. Really, let us know, either Discord or Twitter. Or
Hook has suggested chess, and we've got the World Cup going on. So let's have a little poke around and see if we can find an openly available data set for that.
Exactly. And yeah, don't check out Aura yourself. Give it a try. Start your free instance. It's free, so no cost involved. And give it a try and let us know what you think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So same time next week. See you later. If you've got any ideas for data sets, let us know. So either ping us on Discord, tweet us. If you're about during the session, there's suggested, like Fountain Hook did about chess. I'm going to go and have a look, see if we can find some data sets. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you next week.
See you next week. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.